from the Associated Press. Man sets fire to a woman on a Chicago L train before fleeing, police say. And the only question I have is what socioeconomic factors led this man to incinerate, to immolate this woman, this poor man, this poor man. You know what? It was our fault he did this.
No, he did.
We should all apologize.
I'm pretty sure this was for Palestine.
I was joking, but for real?
No, probably.
Oh my God, dude.
Do we know anything about him? Who is this guy?
Let me read the
where's he
story.
from?
Here's a story. They say a man doused a woman with fluid and set her on fire. I don't mean to take this light. I mean, this is a horrifying story.
Right.
Leaving her in critical condition. The attack happened Monday night on a Blue Line train. Witnesses told the investigators a 26-year-old woman and a man, believed to be in his 40s, began arguing. And the man then doused her with a liquid and set her on alight. When the train pulled into the Clark and Lake stop, the man fled, and the woman stumbled out and fell to the ground, police said, noting she was taken to a hospital. A person of interest in the attack was taken into custody. Like many other... so is there another story on, like, the argument? I'm sure there is. I'll try and find it. But I was mocking the circumstances around our lax society and how it's come to the point where you had a street immolation? A guy had lighter fluid on him? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, because the argument precedes the lighting on fire. So, like, presumably he had it on his inventory already. And then, like, I don't know, either he's picking a fight or, like, he's just like, I don't want to carry a firearm. If I get in a fight, I'll just light someone on fire.
This is a serious story. The joke was actually distasteful. Now I feel bad.
The joke is distasteful?
My joke, yeah. He did it for Palestine.
Oh, you were joking?
Yeah.
I thought you were literally... It's because they got into an argument over something. I thought there was a news story saying they were arguing
because
Israel
of that guy who self-immolated a couple of years ago outside of...
You
I
mean,
forgot his
or
name.
there's the other story where... You mean the other story where the guy went up to the pro-Israel people and doused them with
No, there was another guy.
I get your point. I'm saying...
This is
I'm just saying, why make the joke when someone literally already did this? That's why I thought you were being serious.
No, yeah. No,
Elaad.
that's why it was distasteful.
My point ultimately was...
Very distasteful. I don't pull the strings clearly.
It is insane. Yeah, they just say verbal altercation. I thought you were literally saying, because maybe AP was omitting that fact, because they would do something like that.
No.
But there was a verbal altercation. 26-year-old woman and a 45-year-old man, and he poured a liquid on her and ignited it.
I try not to beef with randos on the street, especially with people with nothing to lose. Those are the people who you want to argue with the least. If they look like they have nothing to lose, you just got to take it, drop your ego, walk away. Yep. Especially from the usual suspects, homeless-looking people.
I learned during COVID in D.C. when it was like me and just the tweakers on the metro that you just don't interact with anyone on the trains. You just don't. Like, there's a ton of people who just camp out and ride all day long that are ready to lose it.
This is a lesson you learn in Chicago. My friends from the suburbs would road rage all the time. And I was like, you will be shot and murdered. I'm like, if you are in my car, don't scream and hang out the window at another vehicle because they will pull a gun and put a bullet in your face. You just let them honk, rage, or cut you off. It's not worth it. Bro, I've been driving down the street in Chicago and a guy just pointed a gun out of his car and just shot at me and my brother for no reason. No reason whatsoever. Don't give him one. This is Chicago. It is insane. This is what we get. You know what's really funny, guys? I have a funny add-on to this story. I'm going to pull this up on X. I didn't know this. I just found out recently that I had made this post about crime by political party that went massively viral. And I was not aware. I have it right here, actually. And we'll throw this into the mix. And what I said was this. This is what violence rates look like depending on political party. How effing weird, am I right? When you get rid of fringe wackos and count crime by party control, it looks a lot different. I literally said by party control. The graph literally says total violence rates for the sum of cities. This is 2023 combined violent rates by party. The graph is, I went on ChatGPT and I said, of the top most populous cities, give me a graph showing total crime by party control. And this is what you get. This is the data. In the top cities, most of them are controlled by Democrats. And you know what the response I get is? Well, this chart is only true because Democrats run most cities. And I'm like, that's literally my point. I don't understand how is that an argument to what I'm making? I'm making the point. You are getting a massive amount of crime because Democrats are running the cities. Like, do you agree? Well, here's the funny part. Snopes, it's got 26.3 million views. I didn't know it got so much attention. I tweeted it and just forgot about it. But Snopes did a breakdown, and they were basically saying Tim Pool's data is misleading as it doesn't actually clarify what's going on, blah, blah, blah. So they made their own graph, which shows literally the same thing. Combined violent crime rates by mayoral party of the 13 U.S. cities with the highest crime instances, and it's even lower for Republican. The point is, in a city where the population votes Republican, there is less crime, and on average, the point of the chart was not to say Republicans commit less crime than Democrats. It was to say Democrats control all of the major cities, and this is where crime is happening. My expectation from this, because we've gone over the data before, a separate chart, is that in cities where you have a Republican mayor, crime is actually lesser. So you don't need to look at the top 13 cities. Look at West Virginia. Crime is lower on average here than in other places. You look at all of the major blue cities, and that is where most of the crime is occurring. The reason I put this together is because there was a story from the Washington Post a couple years ago that said when you track per capita and when you track volume, Democrat cities have the highest per capita and the highest volume of crime. And there was only one city at the time, it was San Diego, that was run by a Republican that made it to the top, and it had a lower than average crime by per capita and by volume. And they argue, well, by volume doesn't make sense because there's a lower population. Agreed. Per capita then? This is what you get in places like Chicago. Look, man, here's the question for you guys and for the audience, and you guys can comment. How do you feel about living in a society where you are told if someone begins to berate you or threaten you, shut up and just do as you're told?
Feel bad. I want to live in a world with more Daniel Pennies.
Oh, for sure.
I have always been more of the mind of, growing up in Chicago, the lesson I learned was if you refuse to be weak, they'll leave you alone. And I think this is true because the United States, for a while, had this ethos in terms of foreign policy. We don't negotiate with terrorists for hostages, for anything. But if someone takes a kidnapper in a foreign country, the U.S. says, they make sure the statement is, you will get not a single penny from us, but special forces will rain down at 2 a.m. from a helicopter with night vision and put a bullet in the face of you and your families and rescue the hostages. So what happens? This is what they train in hostile environment. They tell you, if you're an American and you are kidnapped, hang tight, you will be rescued. Now, if you're European, you're going to be sold because the European policy is pay whatever the ransom is. So when kidnappers see a foreigner, if they kidnap you and you say, I'm an American, they'll drop you and say, get out of here, go away. Because they know the only thing that's going to happen is a helicopter at 2 a.m. and night vision goggles. But if you say, I'm Spanish or I'm German, they'll say, payday, and they'll take you. That's the macro lesson. Certainly, there are instances where if you're walking on the street and some crazy dude threatens you and you try and go into a fight, you might die. That's true. But in my view, the science shows this. We've talked about it before. If you're the kind of person that will be demure, when someone comes up to you and threatens you, you say, yes, anything you say, you will get robbed more often. And this is why it's spreading. We used to be a more brutal people. We are not anymore. And the reality is, this woman was immolated and she's probably going to die. Had she pulled out a knife, she'd be in prison.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, the brutality was all the way up. Like, I mean, the government handled this before this needed to be handled on the street. That's what loony bins are for. This guy should have been in a loony bin. He's probably distributing some really distressing behaviors. You'd probably be in a rubber Ramada right now if we had a sensible society.
That's fair, but in all seriousness, this might just be a guy who, in his view, he's in his 40s. He lived a life. He developed in this city. He believes he can do what he wants.
Yeah.
How does a culture get to the point where people have no fear that they can bring lighter fluid or some kind of flammable liquid and be on a train and be like dousing a woman? I got to be honest. I understand it's a matter of seconds to splash someone with a liquid and then light them up, but it's still not faster than a stab or something. I'm curious. People don't expect this. Is a better way to put it. Now that it's out there, I got to say, if someone splashes you with a liquid, run. Or if they're about to splash you, run. It could be an acid attack. It is insane that we have to say this, but this is what our cities have turned into because we have, I take that back. I'm sorry. We are a brutal people to the innocent.
Yes.
And the Democrats are brutal to those who would seek to protect themselves.
Yeah. They literally prioritize the most dysfunctional people. And this doesn't just apply to crime. This applies to everything, is that the dysfunctional in our society are prioritized with everything. And it's really infuriating. Crime is where it costs people's lives. So that's where it's the most prevalent. This guy, presumably, I'll just speak about like these homeless, these, mentally disturbed people in general, is they don't even have the mental faculties to even comprehend what the outcome could be of their action. And that's why they need to be institutionalized. They can't even understand that there would be any law that would come down on them. When your IQ is so low, you have zero impulse control, you have zero comprehension of consequences. That's why the breakfast question's a thing. This guy would not be able to answer the breakfast question.
But again, what if he can? What if this is a person who's of sound mind who just says they will do nothing about this?
It could be, but he would be an exception to the majority of people on the Chicago trains that are walking around that are just ready to snap at any moment.
I think what we've seen, it's fair to say that in a lot of Chicago with the violence, it certainly is a breakfast question issue. These guys are killing each other because they're being insulted on the internet.
Yeah.
It's funny because for most people, when you go online and we all insult each other, it results in nothing. But in Chicago, you insult somebody, they show up to your house and they got switches and they just spray your house down. And there was a story I covered where some old lady got killed because the dudes lived in the second floor in an apartment and in the back. So when they unloaded in the house, the lady in the first floor got killed.
Yep.
Because the guys upstairs were talking smack on Snapchat. Yup, those guys wouldn't answer the breakfast question. For those aren't familiar, it's if you didn't eat breakfast yesterday, how would you have felt? And if their response is, but I didn't have breakfast, or but I did have breakfast, it means they can't understand a conditional hypothetical. And the response should be, if I didn't, hungry, I guess.
Yeah.
Or if you're someone who doesn't, I don't eat breakfast, I'd say, well, considering I don't eat breakfast, I probably would feel the same as I always do. I don't know. There are many people. You know what? I love the conditional hypothetical thing. Just ask everybody a conditional hypothetical.
Yeah. We'll ask that reporter. It's like, hey, how would you feel if Trump didn't call you piggy? You're like, he did call me piggy. What do you mean?
It's probably the answer you would indeed get.
Average Joe.
The problem is I think it's multifaceted. First of all, it's the criminals know that most people in our society are going to behave in a passive way, so they're going to be able to get away with it. And a big part of the reason why people will behave in a passive way is because, first of all, the justice system will prosecute you for defending yourself if you actually, quote unquote, win the engagement, right? You somehow are able to come out on top and not get beaten to a pulp, or you're able to defend yourself. The justice system is going to prosecute you or attempt to prosecute you like it did with Daniel Penny. And they know that if they're the people that are aggressing, if they're going to attack people, the justice system will not prosecute them. You've got consistently repeat offenders that are carrying out these attacks and stuff, and there's nothing that the government does. The government doesn't put them, the justice system doesn't put them in jail. They're released on bail or bond immediately. They walk right out the same day they're arrested. And so there's no downside to people that have low impulse control just behaving however they want.
Yeah, we've forgotten as a society that some people just don't want to be rehabilitated, right?
Yeah,
that some people are just crazy, and some people do intend to enact violence on others. And I had a friend in D.C., Philip Todd, who was subject to this, right? He was just walking down H Street. I think it was around dinner time, and this guy who was released a couple days before on, I believe, First Step Back credits, just knifed him in the street, and he got knifed in the head. He was a Rand Paul staffer. You can look this up.
Yeah.
But is he okay or what?
He's okay. Yeah, he survived, but it was
in the head.
Terrible. Yeah, tragic. Yeah, and it happens to more people than you think. And this was why I particularly was like so ecstatic about President Trump putting the National Guard in D.C.
Agreed.
Is because there were so many staffers that were getting carjacked.
Yeah.
Right. There were so many staff that were going out at night to just go to the bar and have just a social gathering with their friends, or just leaving work from the Hill and just interacting with people that only meant harm for them. There was a period of time on the Hill. I mean, people who worked with me know this. Like, I was seriously pushing for staff to be able to conceal carry on the Hill, right? Because, I mean, think about it.
They still should be allowed to.
Exactly. They totally should, right? I mean, the secret is, like, there is a little area in the law that actually allows them to, if a member delegates that ability.
But the issue is, like with a surprise attack, you're walking down the street and someone comes up behind you, you don't just spin around and draw on them. You know what I mean? So if someone is nuts and they're just going to stab you, there's little you can do except for never let anyone walk near you. And I'm not saying draw on them. I'm saying walk the other way, turn around, face them, back off, move the other direction. And that's the sad thing is these policies have resulted in people who are saying, what is the meme online? Would you rather be racist or dead?
Yeah.
Or is it like, would you rather be alive and racist or what is it?
That's
Not racist and dead or something like that.
Sentiment, yeah.
And it's being said by people who typically are racist, but the point they're making is, what's the point of taking the chance? If you're racist, who cares? If you decide not to be, sooner or later someone might stab you. And I'm like, I think it's actually more so just depending on the area you're in and there's high crime, don't walk near people, right? The sentiment is just like stay away from other people. It's a scary thought. That's the world we live in. And it's because we are not a brutal people anymore. Again, correction, we're brutal to the victims. Yeah. And because of that, people are scared to defend themselves. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.